All right, it is 9:03, and we are here virtually coming to you from South Haven, Michigan. I am Kim House. I am a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator. I am the educator on this beautiful day in front of you, and I have Emily Johnston. I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Emily, and I am a health educator with Bronson's Community Health Advancement Team. And this will be my first virtual cooking class. So excited to see all of your faces.
Excellent. So, welcome to everybody who is joining in this morning. Let me get started here and bear with us for a second while we get everything ready for you here. All right, so a couple of housekeeping items. There is closed caption that has been provided to you. There are controls on the bottom of your screen. You can stay muted, you can share your video. There's an area where there's buttons that can mute you. I can also mute you, but just know that you have that way to, control that. You can also type yourself in, type your questions in the chat. There's an area there. So a nice way to kind of keep some things flowing. If you have any questions, just put that in the chat. So the information here is generalized for the most part, but if you have any questions, you can ask myself or, of course, ask your medical care provider. So an agenda that's going on today is we are going to be starting with our baked feta pasta recipe and then moving into comparing our pastas. Of course, people with diabetes, looking at the different pastas we have offered and looking at some education with the different nutrient profiles and options and ways to use those and benefits. Also, we'll move into the kale and basil pesto pasta recipe. And then last but not least, looking into how to build pasta projects with Q&A at the end. So let's have Emily take it away and just say a minute about this baked feta pasta.
Okay, so we're gonna start out today by making a baked feta pasta. So this pasta is packed with a bunch of springtime veggies, and it also makes great use of a protein pasta to help us get towards our protein goals. So it's got a great mix of our veggies and that protein that we need. So I think we're ready to get started.
All right, let me just get you. Let me just get you your tile here. I'm not able to get you spotlighted here for a second. One second, everybody. Okay, one second. Here we go. Got it. There we are.
Okay, now everyone can see me. Okay, so to get started with our baked feta pasta today, we are going to start out by using our 9 by 13 pan. You can use glass, you can use metal, whatever you've got at home. So we're going to start out with 2 cups of cherry tomatoes. I love these, a great non-starchy vegetable. Definitely going to be coming into season soon this summer. So just adding that to our pan. Next, we're going to come in with our 2 cups of asparagus. I love this. This is going to start showing up at our farmers market soon. A great springtime vegetable. This is going to be So easy to find as spring starts to come. Next, we are going to add in our half cup of chopped sweet white onion. You can use any type of onion that you'd like, red onion, but I prefer sweet white onion when I make these types of dishes. So we're going to add in our 3 cloves of garlic. I've chosen to chop mine up. I find it distributes a little bit better that way. And I'm using 3 whole cloves of garlic. I know not everyone likes garlic as much as I do. So use as much as you'd like. You can use 1 clove, you can use 3 cloves, whatever you prefer. And then we are going to take, with all our veggies in there, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just going to distribute this over our veggies. And then we're just going to mix it together, making sure our olive oil is evenly distributed over all of our nice springtime veggies. Quick little stir. Those are looking so good. Then I'm going to take all of my herbs and spices that we have in our recipe. We are using basil, oregano, parsley, garlic powder, and ground pepper. And so I'm just going to sprinkle these all over our veggies. So now that we've got all of this in our pan, I'm going to start to make a little hole at the center of our pan. This is where our feta cheese is going to go. So I've got a nice little hole in there for our feta. And so I am just going to sprinkle that into the little hole that we made. And so this is low-fat feta. And so it might be a little bit more crumbly than a full block of full-fat feta, but this is still going to give us that great feta cheese taste. So I'm just going to sprinkle that into the middle of our pan. This is looking wonderful. And then over here, I've got my oven. It has already been preheated to 375. So I'm just gonna stick that in there for about 30 minutes, making sure to check on it and make sure I'm not overdoing it.
Emily, there's a chat question that asks, is there any replacement for feta?
Yeah, you could like if you prefer another cheese, I would definitely try that out. I would just take a look at what baking that might look like, and just making sure that you're baking that at the correct temperature, and then just making sure that it's meeting your dietary requirements. So usually a low-fat cheese is going to have a little bit less saturated fat and meet some of our dietary needs. That's a great question. Yeah, you can substitute pretty much anything in this recipe. If you hate tomatoes, feel free to add in peppers, zucchini, pretty much any vegetable that you're a fan of, you can put in here.
Thank you.
So next, I'm going to take a look at my pasta. So for the baked feta pasta, I'm going to be using a protein pasta. So the base of this pasta is still a wheat flour. So this is not going to be gluten-free. So it's still going to be a wheat-based pasta, but it's just pretty much got some pea protein and chickpea flour to add in some of that protein and help us get towards some of our protein goals. So I'm going to put this in my pot of boiling water over here, and then cook this for about 8 to 9 minutes until we get it to al dente. Once this pasta is pretty much cooked, I'm going to add in my 5 ounces of fresh spinach. And I'm going to put it right in the boiling water with that pasta to help it just wilt up a little bit as we get that cooked. While I'm doing my pastas, I'm also going to start in on my chickpea pasta for our other recipe. For our pesto recipe, we're going to be using a chickpea pasta today. So this is made entirely of chickpeas. So this one is going to be gluten-free. And because it is made of chickpeas naturally have some of that protein. So this is also going to help us get to some of our protein goals. When you're using chickpea pasta, I like to be careful when I'm adding it to the water. It can tend to be, it can foam up just a little bit, which you want to be careful of. You don't want to have your water boiling over. So I tend to use a larger pot when I'm making this. Um, and then also with the chickpea pasta, it tends to stay a little bit more al dente. So I really prefer using kind of some of the smaller shapes like the penne or maybe elbows. I think it lends itself a little bit better to the chickpea pasta than maybe the spaghetti does. I'm
And
gonna get
Emily, do
started
you have
on
a chat question? Here
that.
is, where's that pasta available? I was just gonna let Jill know, maybe Meijer or Target.
Yeah, I got all of these at Meijer, Target. A lot of grocery stores carry them nowadays. Um,
Thanks.
so I'll get started on that and I'll see you in a little bit.
Very good. Thank you, Emily. Okay, everybody. So we are back with our, just kind of checking in to see what this baked feta pasta checks in as balanced, and we'll do a little education with this. So for balance, we mean, does it have carbs, protein, fat, and non-starchy vegetables? And if you've been with me before in my team, we do this little quick check. And of course, there's carbs in here. There's some pasta, but of course, we can boost the protein. Even though this has some protein pasta in there, there's no harm in adding some of our other favorite proteins. If we love, shrimp or chicken or turkey, or other proteins, even that we might explore, there really is no stopping us here. So, of course, there's some fat with the cheese that is used, even though it is low fat, there's still some fat. And then that olive oil that is in that recipe. Of course, there's a variety of vegetables, non-starchy, that she's using. And like Emily said, that we can substitute these. So lots of colors, lots of fiber, lots of goodness, vitamins, and minerals. So in the chat question, while we're just kind of going through our education, what pastas do you typically use in your recipes that might just ask for pasta? And with a patient with diabetes, you might just say, we might ask, do you use pasta? But if you do use pasta, what do you typically use? So I'm actually going to help you explore the different pastas that are out there on the shelf. So what you're seeing is on the left-hand side, the green tiled box has our protein pasta nutrients, and on the right-hand side is your standard pasta nutrient profile. So we're not going to look at all the numbers necessarily, but really what we're looking at is a 1 cup serving. So when we have a 1 cup measuring cup, that we might have in our kitchen. We are doing apples to apples, so a 1 cup. The calories are pretty much the same, but what I want to highlight with a protein pasta is that the protein is just about doubled in the protein pasta. The carbohydrates that may raise our blood sugars in this pasta is going to be just about the same, but the fiber is double. So that fiber is going to make us feel more full, and it may help stabilize our blood sugars in the end, as well as that protein. So really, it's a high protein, good amount of fiber, and it's plant-based. So really, it's good. It's a good option for adding protein, like Emily said, into a recipe that just may not have much protein in there. But for the one that we just made, or we are making, that baked feta, you might boost it with a little additional protein if you like that. So it's good in that matter. So that's their protein pasta. She purchased the penne. This is one of several. This isn't the only, but Meijer, Target, other brands online in the store do have protein pasta. It may be gluten containing mixed with wheat, so it may not be gluten free. So if you are gluten free, you may need to look at those ingredients to see what are the other fibers that are used or other pasta blends that are used. Okay, so chickpea pasta, which we'll use in our second recipe, for 1 cup measurement is still about the same amount of calories. The protein amount is just about double to the standard pasta, so still another high protein boost to your pasta dish, which is beneficial to those with diabetes. The carbohydrate amount is still your standard amount of carbohydrate, so that really is no harm in that. Your dietary fiber is really a nice high fiber benefit. It helps us make us feel more satisfied with a nice just 1 cup measurement. And that will help to stabilize our blood sugars. And you know, really none of these are high in fat or cholesterol. The nice benefit of this is that chickpea pasta is great for those that are gluten-free, that need a pasta that they can enjoy without the worry of gluten, whether they're gluten intolerant or have a celiac disease or gluten allergy. What Emily did mention is that some of these do foam or boil a little differently. Chickpea pasta tends to stay in that al dente um, texture because of the lack of the gluten, which keeps the elasticity of a pasta. So it's a little bit just like similar to your breads. Gluten-free bread is a little different texture than like regular uh, wheat bread or refined bread. So the benefit is proteins, fibers, and it's gluten-free. So we'll see more about the chickpea pasta here in a little bit. This is Banza spaghetti. She has Banza noodles for our chickpea pasta later on. If it's al dente, it might be harder to twirl as a spaghetti. So chickpea pasta might be better in like a penne or rigatoni, something that you don't have to twirl. Just a personal thing. Whole wheat pasta, for a 1 cup serving, a little bit more calories. The protein is just about similar. The carbohydrates are about similar. The fiber is about similar. So when you talk whole wheat, standard to whole wheat, both of them the same, really. It's really packed with vitamins and minerals is what you're gonna get. Really they're kind of apples to apples, believe it or not. So when you look at whole wheat pasta compared to standard pasta, you're not losing out, but the gains aren't like a ton. So you might surprise yourself when you look at white pasta to whole wheat pasta. You might just be gaining some vitamins and minerals. You might find that whole wheat pasta is a little more nutty or grainier. So the texture might be different, but that doesn't bother everybody. So just being real and finding that in when you're in the store, you might go, well, there's not much difference, but you might appreciate some of the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants you would get from your whole wheat pasta. We can find these in Target, Meijer, Aldi, online. I like the like a whole wheat rotini, especially when we think about the nutty, grainy. I don't mind it mixed in. Add some vegetables and some protein. It doesn't bother me at all. Soba pasta. Curious when people put this in the chat. I haven't checked the chat if they've put soba pasta. You might find this in different cuisines, but it is a little bit more caloric. The protein is the same, the carbs is the same, the fiber is the same, but what you'll find is that is from a buckwheat different grain. It's gluten-free. The protein and the fiber is, adequate. It is antioxidant, high in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory. So again, that high amount of vitamins and minerals, just like your whole wheat, that you might not find in your refined pastas. So if you're really looking for that health benefit for your diabetes, that you really want to gain some of those vitamins and minerals and just a really good, healthy immune system, and you're trying to fight some chronic diseases and just help your, overall health, whole wheat and soba pasta, substituting for those types of pastas in your regular standard pasta might be a good benefit. It's a pro. So the caloric and all of the other nutrients might be similar, but you may gain some benefit otherwise. So I found this, again, you might find this more like Amazon or in some of your ethnic aisles, but it might be a change up into from an ordinary pasta dish. I like it because it's gluten-free. I personally enjoy some of these gluten-free noodles. All right, so brown rice pasta, we find that it's more calories. Actually, there's less protein. There's much more carbohydrates. I put a red box around here for I want to identify this, that there's actually loss in some of this, that not everything that is out there that we think is healthy is actually healthy for us. And we think, wow, there's things that are labeled healthy that should be healthy, but it's not. And that's why the world is confusing. It's a gluten-free pasta. It still has a good amount of fiber, but everything else is less inferior, or it's inferior to the standard pasta. So why would we pick this? Well, I put it up here because, it's out there in the world, and we have to be real, right? And it's on the shelf. So it's a good comparison to know that when we compare that not everything is a benefit. So it's good amount of fiber. We might have this at home, but everything else really isn't that great. So we can compare it and go, well, maybe this isn't a benefit, but it is out there. It is a brown rice pasta. It's going to be on the shelf. Meijer, Aldi, Walmart, you'll see it. Everybody, you can find it anywhere. It's a mild flavor. It's probably very comparable to your standard pasta. But for patients with diabetes, it gives us a lot of carbs in 1 cup measurement, which may not be beneficial to our numbers that we want and try to get and aim for. You can find that really in a penne and a spaghetti. So I just wanted to put that out there. Red lentil pasta, I find this more and more common. It does have a double amount of protein, so it's high protein, comparable to our standard pasta. The carbohydrates are comparable. The dietary fiber is packed full, low in fat. It's gluten-free, lots of vitamins and minerals, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory. So for our arthritis, for our heart disease, for our diabetes, we find red lentil pasta again in our gluten-free, any of your big box stores, your health food stores, you name it. I would give it a try, something different. It gives a different color. And really it's not going to bother our gut. It's not going to bother our other chronic conditions. So I really like it. And last but not least is veggie pasta. If you have vegetables in the house and you want to twirl it, spiral it in your machine and make pasta out of it and you love it, look at the caloric difference between standard pasta and veggie pasta. Really, it's so much less calories. You are decreasing the carbohydrates. So, really all you're doing is just spiraling vegetables. So it's really, you're getting more vegetables in your diet and you're just cutting the carbs. You might find a different texture difference. You're not getting as much protein, perhaps, but you'll add protein somewhere else. So this is zucchini noodles. Okay. Another chat question while we're moving along into our next recipe is what is most important to you when you shop for pasta? And I'll catch up in the chat. I think it's Emily's turn to Emily's turn. Well, let me get Emily on, I believe. Are you ready, Emily?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let me try to get you spotlight here. All right.
Perfect. Okay, so our feta pasta is still baking in the oven. We've got both our pastas made and drained, and we added that spinach to our protein pasta just at the end to wilt the spinach just a little bit. So while that's all going, we're going to start in on our pesto. So this pesto pasta is going to be using kale and basil instead of just basil. So I think that this is a great substitute. Our kale, we're going to be able to start finding this really soon at the farmer's market, at our grocery store, really easily available, got great nutrients, and isn't quite as expensive as basil. So you're able to make a lot of it at a little bit less of a cost. And so we've got 2 cups of kale here, washed and rinsed. So I'm just gonna put these into my blender. So I've got a blender here at home, but a food processor works just fine. Whatever you've got and are able to use. To give us some of that classic pesto taste, we still have some of our basil. And so I'm going to be adding about a cup of that fresh basil in there. Next, I'm going to be adding some almonds. Traditionally in pesto, you might use like a pine nut. That tends to be really pretty expensive. And so I find using almond, it tastes really great and isn't quite as hard on the wallet. And you can pretty much substitute anything in these recipes. If you don't like kale, try using spinach, any kind of dark green that you like better. Please feel free to use that. If you like more basil, use more basil than kale. If you prefer walnuts to almonds, do that. Use pretty much any nut and greens that you like. So with our basil, kale, and almonds in there, I'm just gonna pulse it for a couple of seconds and I'll mute myself here so it doesn't get too loud. Alrighty, I've just basically pulsed those ingredients, starting to break them down a little bit. So next we're gonna start really adding in some of our flavor. So we've got a little bit of lemon zest here. I love using lemon zest in recipes. I feel like it really adds like a brightness, a really great flavor. And then I'm gonna be adding in some garlic. Again, I love a garlic taste. If you're not a big fan of garlic, you can skip it altogether. You can use 1 clove. I'm going to be using 3 cloves here because I love garlic.
Me too. I think it goes on literally anything.
Yeah. And then I'm going to be adding in a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And again, you can use freshly grated Parmesan cheese. You can get the container from the grocery store like me. I think it winds up tasting great either way. And again, if you prefer a different cheese, feel free to use that. Um, So this recipe is very adaptable. So I'm just gonna pulse it again, start getting everything really mixed together. Alrighty, and it may be helpful to scrape the sides with your spatula. I know not all the ingredients are getting in there. And you might be worried if it's not mixing together quite how you would imagine. As we start to add in our liquids, it's really going to help all of this start to blend together. So now, while my blender is going, I'm going to be adding in our olive oil. So I'm going to turn the blender on continuously, and I've got a little hole in the top of my blender, so I'm just going to pour it in as I go.
That color is going to be amazing when that all gets mixed.
Now I'm going to make use of my spatula again, making sure to scrape my sides, really getting that mixed in there, and that's going to help everything start to blend together. And at this point, I'm going to add in my lemon juice as well. And this will really help everything start to blend together. So hopefully this will be our final blend.
Anybody else made pesto like this? You make it look
Alrighty,
easy.
so we've got our pesto all together now, and this pesto really a little goes a long way. And so this recipe, this can serve pretty much 8 people. But if you're only cooking for 1 or 2, it's really easy to half this recipe. So normally what I like to do when I'm using this pesto is I like to pair it with a protein. So last night we had chicken for dinner. So I'm gonna pair it with some leftover chicken breast, the chickpea pasta that we made, and then some of this pesto. So I'm gonna get that together.
Emily, we have lots of people that are excited to try this. Some say they haven't had it with kale before, but they're excited to try it. Some haven't even ever made pesto before, but they say it looks very good. Others have made it with walnuts.
Be
Like
good.
their cousins from Italy have made it with walnuts.
Ooh, that would be delicious.
Yeah, like this is smell-o-vision or something right now.
Yeah. Um, So here we've got my finished plate. I've got my chicken from last night. Great way to use leftovers. Quickly made my chickpea penne pasta. And then on top, I've just got a little bit of this pesto. It smells really good. Smells like garlic and lemon and fresh greens and basil. And so this is ready to eat. So let me take a taste for you, Kim.
Oh no. I would,
It's really good.
you're in Kalamazoo, so you're gonna have to drive that on over for lunch. Oh, so thank you, Emily, and we appreciate that. And we're
Okay.
gonna, yeah, are you,
Oh, I
I want to
think
share the recipe, but what do you got?
I think our other pasta's ready to come out. Let's
Okay,
take a look.
okay.
Oh
Some
yeah, my glass is fogged. We're
ah,
ready.
someone's asking, Gina's asking how much of the stock do you use?
What's the question?
The kale? How much
Oh,
of the
the kale.
stock do you use? Yeah.
It's really easy to prepare. I usually just prepare it with my hands. So I'll take a kale stalk. And so the tasty part of the kale is the leaf and not so much the stem. The stem can get a little bit bitter. And so you can do this, kids can do it, kids love to do this. You can just rip the leaves off and you are left with the stalk in the center. So just the leaves, they rip off really easily. And then you can chop them with a knife, or if you have little kids at home, they can just break it apart with their hands and make like a little kale salad or help you prep for your pesto. So I think kale's really easy. You just break it off, and then I put it in my salad spinner, give it a wash, spin it out, and then it keeps in my fridge for quite a bit. I put it in a large Ziploc plastic bag, and I usually put a piece of paper towel in there too, to kind of absorb that extra moisture. I find that really helps.
Great idea. Thank you.
So we have our veggies out of the oven. Let me see if I can't show you, but they are
Beautiful.
looking delicious with our feta melting. So I'm just gonna take a fork and I'm gonna start to mix everything up. Our cherry tomatoes are roasted and they're gonna pop and give us like a really nice flavor. So I'm just gonna start to kind of squish some of those tomatoes, get them all ready real quick with the fork, being careful of my hands. This pan is still quite hot. So just giving them a little mash, and then starting to mix everything together. And so this is kind of what that looks like. Now we're ready to add in our pasta and our wilted spinach. So I'm gonna grab that from our stove over here, being careful because sometimes this can be hot. And then just adding our pasta into here with our spinach. Just making sure to be careful because all of this can be quite hot.
Jill is
Ah,
thanking us for these great recipes.
oh, good. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
yeah.
So I'm just going to take my spatula and mix it all together.
I think maybe I'm answering Gina's question earlier. I feel like a goat cheese or maybe like a blue cheese, like crumble in the
Ooh,
middle.
that would be
I don't
good.
know. I feel like something like that in the middle too. Maybe not your typical like shredded cheese, but something like that in the middle would
Yeah.
be
That will
similar.
hold up in the oven as you're roasting your
Right,
vegetables.
right, right. Gorgonzola. I don't know. Maybe
That
something
would
like
be
that.
good.
Blue cheese. Yeah, that looks
Okay, so
fabulous.
this is what it looks like with all the pasta mixed in. We've got our spinach, our tomatoes, our asparagus poking through, and these little feta cheese that's getting kind of melty and mixing with everything in there. So let me get my plate.
And we're looking at 1/8 of this recipe as a
This one
portion
is 1/6.
or 1/6.
Yeah, so I usually go into thirds. So about one big corner.
Well,
Uh, of this recipe. So it winds up looking like a couple nice scoops. Let me make sure I get a little bit of everything in here.
everything looks fabulous.
Get my tomatoes and my onions beans and my asparagus. And so this is what my plate is looking like.
Mhm.
And let's give it a taste. Let me get a good bite with my asparagus and my tomatoes. And that's great.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to show them the recipe and share that with them and talk a little bit about that. Thank you, Emily.
Ah, perfect. These taste great.
And let me share that with you here. Okay. So the recipe was, with that kale, basil, almond, Parmesan cheese, chickpea pasta, chicken breast. We're looking at the pasta being the carbs, the chicken, and the pasta adding, in the protein, the fat coming from the almonds, cheese, and olive oil. And then you've got kale as the, main non-starchy um, vegetable. But she had other things in there too that was, uh, well, that was in the pesto. So there's lots of different things we have going on today with all these vegetables, beautiful colors, and definitely, definitely some things that people with diabetes can consume and manage. So pesto can be used, on chicken in different ways. But I want to talk about how we build a project, actually like how do we build a pasta project? We named this pasta project for a reason. Um, because it is a project to decide how do we incorporate pasta into our lives with diabetes, because it is a thought that we should not have pasta if we have diabetes. But in fact, we can do this right. We can incorporate, number one, a protein that's lean, that is either animal or plant. So if we start with that, chicken, turkey, beef, tofu, beans, and or shrimp, and we pick that as our protein source, and I'll tell you why in a second. So we start with thinking about what protein do we want to choose. And we go for a pasta. What pasta are we aiming for? Are we aiming for something that's gluten-free? Are we aiming for something that's veggie based? Zucchini, something we can spiral. Is it something that we want to add that's protein? Are we aiming for something high protein, whole wheat? Is it something with like a chickpea that has that fiber as well? Um, is it a nutty flavor? Is it something mild? So we pick our pasta, and then we also need to incorporate some healthy fat, some heart healthy almonds, walnuts, pesto, like we just did, which incorporates heart healthy fats, cashews. There's always a little room for like some oils, olive oil, because we have reasons for that in our diabetes. And then also, last but not least, incorporate those colorful vegetables that are beautiful vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And I'll tell you why. So if we build our project with these areas of these layers, the protein itself will help to balance our blood sugars. Protein does not add sugar to our blood. It will help to blunt the spike, essentially, when we consume food. It kind of holds our blood sugars where it's at. So when you consume protein, your blood sugars kind of stay where they're at. So when you incorporate protein into a meal, you're kind of balancing out where your blood sugars are at. So a protein in a meal, also combined with a carb, which is pasta, will help to kind of normalize the effect of what that pasta is going to do to your blood sugars. Pasta will provide the fuel for that meal. We know the pasta will rise our blood sugars. That's a natural effect. But if we've got high amounts of protein in our meal to balance out that pasta, it will not have a negative impact on our diabetes. So let's boost that protein in there. Let's have some pasta in there. Let's make sure that there's healthy fats as an ingredient, almonds, cashews, pesto, oil base, not heavy amounts of this stuff, but it will help us feel satisfied. We'll get some good, important vitamins and minerals from our healthy fats, but also really just bulk up our meal with our favorite vegetables. Look at what it did with our kale. Look at what it did with our cherry tomatoes, our asparagus, our spinach, all of the goodness of our non-starchy vegetables. It does not add much calories, much carbs. It adds fiber, it adds vitamins, minerals, and it bulks it up. So it's just not plain pasta on the plate. And when we look at bulking up our meal, we want to remember that we should keep our pasta portion to about 1 cup. So that 1 cup on that plate should have been about pasta, and the rest can be protein and veggies. Okay, so keep that in mind, that it's okay to have pasta on your plate, but keep it to about a 1 cup portion, and then the rest be protein as a part of your project, and non-starchy vegetables. It adds color, it's interesting, it's beautiful, and I have some more ideas on this one of these last slides. So these are kind of personal ones. Zucchini noodles, so veggie noodles mixed with marinara. You can do veggie meatballs, you can do, you know, some beef or turkey meatballs, kind of your protein, mixed with non-starchy vegetables that have been sauteed, so a little bit of, you know, oil there. The other idea here is some protein pasta, which may not be gluten-free, but the chickpea pasta could be, or your regular angel hair pasta. Some thin pasta is what you're kind of looking for. Lemon caper sauce, some of your protein from chicken or shrimp, and then desired vegetables. So it's kind of that middle picture you see in the middle, kind of that lemon base. So it's not a marinara sauce, but that lemon oil base to that thin pasta with like shrimp on the top. And then that third idea could be a penne with pesto. So you see that with some cherry tomatoes and some beans in it. So you've got protein. It's really more or less a vegetarian idea. Or you can make it non-vegetarian and add some chicken to it. So it's really kind of that you can vary this up and still make it very diabetes friendly. Veggies, protein, pasta, and a little bit of healthy fat. Keep that pasta to about 1 cup portion and incorporate that other stuff, and you can really keep it very healthy. You've got both of those recipes. Anybody have any questions? Put it in the chat. I want to thank everybody for coming. If you have any other questions, let me throw one more thing up here. If you have any other questions or any future need to talk with a registered dietitian, you may ask your primary care provider for a referral to Bronson Diabetes Education. We offer 3 locations: South Haven, Battle Creek, or Portage. That is medical nutrition therapy. Otherwise, we offer diabetes classes that are offered through all 3 locations. So it's a referral from your primary care provider. If you have an endocrinologist, so a diabetes doctor, essentially, they also may refer you instead. So otherwise, doctor or a specialist or any MyChart help, patient billing, you know, there's resources out there. otherwise, we thank you for coming today. And our next topic occurs on May 28th. It is called Spice It Up. It's May 28th from 9 to 10. So you would want to get registered for that. And there's I believe a few extra minutes. We can hang out here if you have any questions. Otherwise, let's see if there's anything in the chat. Let's see. Thank you. Yeah, Penny, Jill, thank you. Recipes, Gina, we can get those to you, if you didn't get the email. We appreciate it, Yvonne. Did we not get the recipes, out? They should have been sent out this morning. Emily, do you know anything about that? They should have been out in the email.
Should have been sent out in
You're
the
welcome.
email earlier this week, Monday afternoon. And if not, we can send out another email with those. I'll talk with Tina about that.
Okay,
And we should be able to send out another round this afternoon.
okay. Yeah, they should have been sent out this morning, but and some of them did say they were sent out also in their email. But we can, if you did not get them, we can certainly send them independently to you if you identify that in the chat. But thank you very much. And any questions, we'll stay on for another couple of minutes. But it was a pleasure to have you, and I hope you have a great day on this sunny day.